gym was alive with the usual hum of activity. Machines clanked as weights were lifted and dropped. Treadmills whirred underfoot, and the faint sound of grunts filled the air. It was a place where humans pushed their limits, testing the boundaries of their strength and endurance. But today something unusual was about to unfold. High above the gym, hidden behind shimmering veils of advanced technology, two insectoid creatures watched intently. They were krill, aliens from a distant planet called Zektar 7. Their bodies were sleek and segmented, their eyes multifaceted and glowing faintly in the dim light of their observation chamber. For months, they had been studying this particular gym, fascinated by the strange rituals of exercise performed by the humans below. Trelk, the younger of the two, leaned closer to the transparent barrier that separated them from the bustling scene below. His mandibles twitched with excitement as he observed a group of humans lifting heavy metal bars. "Look at them, Varn," he said, his voice clicking softly in his native tongue. "They strain so hard for such small gains. Isn't it fascinating?" Varn, older and more skeptical, clicked back dismissively. "Fascinating? No. Pointless, yes. These creatures are weak. Why waste time observing them when we could be focusing on species that actually matter?" He turned away, his exoskeleton gleaming faintly in the low light, but Trelk wasn't convinced. "You're too quick to judge. Look at how they push themselves. There's something admirable about their determination." Varn snorted, or at least made a noise that passed for one among the krill. "Admirable? They're fragile. One wrong move and they injure themselves. One illness and they die. What's admirable about that?" Before Trelk could respond, the doors to the gym swung open, and a man walked in. He wasn't like the others. Tall and broad-shouldered, he moved with an ease that suggested power held in check. His dark hair was cropped short, and his sharp eyes scanned the room as though assessing every detail. The name on his membership card read, Jake Carter. Jake strode past the front desk without hesitation, tossing a casual nod to the attendant. To anyone else, he might have looked like just another gym-goer, but there was something different about him. The way he carried himself hinted at years of discipline and danger. Every step he took seemed deliberate, every glance calculated. Even the other patrons noticed, glancing up briefly before returning to their routines. Trelk tilted his head, his glowing eyes narrowing slightly. "Who is he?" he murmured, more to himself than to Varn. Varn shrugged. "Another human. Why, does it matter? It matters because he's not like the others." Trelk adjusted the controls on the observation panel, zooming in on Jake's face. "Look at him, he doesn't belong here." Varn sighed, reluctantly turning back to the view. "Fine, let's humor you. What makes him so special?" For a moment, neither of them spoke. They watched as Jake approached the weightlifting area. Without hesitation, he selected a barbell loaded with plates far heavier than what most people would attempt. With fluid grace, he hoisted it onto his shoulders and began squatting, each movement precise and controlled. Nearby, a few gym-goers paused mid-exercise to watch, their expressions a mix between admiration and disbelief. "This isn't normal," Trelk said, his tone growing more animated. "Even the strongest humans can't lift that much without struggling." Varn clicked thoughtfully. "Perhaps he's using some kind of enhancement. Humans do love their artificial aids." "No," Trelk replied firmly. "There's no sign of augmentation. This is all natural ability." As if to prove his point, Jake switched to a series of pull-ups on a high bar. Each repetition was smooth and effortless, his muscles rippling beneath his skin. The krill continued to observe, their curiosity piqued. Something about this human was unlike anything they'd seen before. While the aliens debated, another person in the gym also took notice of Jake. Her name was Lisa Monroe, a former soldier-turned-fitness instructor. With her blonde hair tied, back in a ponytail and a confident stride, she commanded respect wherever she went. She had been teaching a class earlier, but now found herself drawn to the mysterious newcomer. Lisa approached cautiously, her instincts telling her there was more to Jake than met the eye. "Hey," she said, keeping her tone light. You're new around here, aren't you? Jake lowered the barbell and turned to face her. His expression was neutral, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of interest. Yeah, just passing through. Passing through? Lisa raised an eyebrow. Well, you certainly know your way around. A gym. Mind if I ask where you learned to lift like that? Jake hesitated for a split second before shrugging. Lots of practice. His answer was vague, but Lisa didn't press further. Instead, she extended a hand. I'm Lisa, by the way. I teach classes here sometimes. Jake, he replied, shaking her hand briefly. His grip was firm, almost too firm, but Lisa didn't flinch. Well, welcome to the gym, Jake. If you need anything, feel free to ask. He nodded politely but said nothing more. As Lisa walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Jake than he was letting on. There was a tension in his posture, a readiness that reminded her of soldiers preparing for battle. Whatever his story was, it wasn't ordinary. Back in their observation chamber, Trelk and Varn had reached a decision. We need to study him further, Trelk declared. This human, this Jake Carter, could be evidence of something extraordinary. Varn crossed his arms, or rather, the appendages that served as arms, and clicked skeptically. And what exactly do you propose? We do? Invite him up for tea? No, Trelk replied, his voice steady. We'll create a scenario, a test if you will, something to see how he reacts under pressure. A test? Varn sounded dubious. That's risky. What if he discovers us? He won't, Trelk assured him. Our holographic technology is flawless. Besides, if he truly is exceptional, wouldn't it be worth the risk? Varn hesitated, then finally relented with a reluctant click. Fine, but if this goes wrong, it's on you. Trelk smiled, or at least made the closest approximation of a smile that his insectoid features allowed. It won't go wrong. Unbeknownst to them, Jake had already sensed that something was off. As he resumed his workout, he kept one ear tuned to the ambient noises of the gym. The faint hum of machinery, the rhythmic pounding of feet on treadmills, it all seemed normal enough. Yet there was an underlying current, a subtle irregularity that tugged at the edges of his awareness. Years spent surviving on Arendor 5, AI Deathworld teeming with predators and peril, had honed Jake's instincts to a razor's edge. He trusted those instincts implicitly, knowing they had saved his life more times than he could count. And right now, they were telling him that he wasn't alone. Little did he know his suspicions were about to be confirmed in ways he could never have anticipated. The next morning, Jake returned to the gym. He moved with the same quiet confidence as before, his sharp eyes scanning the room as he entered. The place was bustling again, filled with the usual mix of regulars and newcomers. Weights clanged, treadmills hummed, and conversations buzzed in the background. To anyone else, it seemed like just another ordinary day. But Jake wasn't fooled. He had spent the night thinking about the strange feeling he'd picked up the previous day. Something about the gym didn't sit right with him. It wasn't anything obvious, no flashing lights or alarms going off, but there was a faint undercurrent, a sense that something unseen was watching. His instincts told him to stay alert, so he did. As he began warming up, Lisa noticed him almost immediately. She was leading a small group through a circuit training session, but kept glancing over at Jake whenever she could. There was something magnetic about him, something that made her want to know more. After finishing her demonstration for the class, she walked over to him. Back again, huh? She said with a smile, trying to sound casual. Jake nodded without looking up. He was stretching his arms, loosening his muscles in preparation for the workout ahead. Yeah, figured I'd stick around for a bit. Lisa hesitated, unsure if she should push further. You travel a lot? Enough, Jake replied, his tone measured. He wasn't rude, but it was clear he wasn't interested in sharing much. Before Lisa could say anything else, a commotion broke out nearby. Two men were arguing over a piece of equipment, a bench press station. One of them, a burly guy with tattoos covering his arms, was shouting louder than necessary, while the other, a wiry man with glasses, stood his ground despite looking nervous. You had your turn, the tattooed man barked. Now it's mine. I'm not done yet, The wiry man shot back, though his voice wavered slightly. The argument escalated quickly, drawing the attention of everyone in the vicinity. Some people stepped back, not wanting to get involved, while others started filming on their phones. Tensions rose until it seemed like the situation might boil over into physical violence. That's when Jake moved. Without hesitation, he stepped between the two men, his presence immediately commanding attention. Standing tall and calm, he raised both hands in a gesture meant to de-escalate. "Hey," he said, his voice firm but not aggressive. "No need for this," the tattooed man glared at him. "Stay out of it, buddy. This doesn't concern you." "It does now," Jake replied evenly. His gaze locked onto the man's eyes, unwavering. For a moment, it seemed like the confrontation might continue, but then the tattooed man backed down. Muttering under his breath, he grabbed his towel and stormed off toward the locker rooms. The wiry man mumbled a quick thanks before retreating as well. Lisa watched the entire exchange from a short distance away. She couldn't help but feel impressed by how effortlessly Jake had diffused the situation. Most people would have either joined in the fight or avoided it altogether, but Jake had handled it with precision and control, like someone who had done it countless times before. Meanwhile, high above the scene, Trelk and Varn observed everything from their hidden chamber. They had been monitoring Jake closely since his arrival, and this latest incident only deepened their fascination, or in Varn's case, suspicion. "He intervened," Trelk said, clicking excitedly. "Did you see that? He didn't hesitate. He just stepped in and took charge." Varn clicked irritably. "So what? Humans are social creatures. They meddle in each other's affairs all the time. But not like this," Trelk insisted. "There was no fear in him, no uncertainty. He acted like someone trained for situations exactly like this." Varn tilted his head, considering the point. "Maybe. Or maybe he's just reckless." "No," Trelk replied firmly. "This is different. I think he's adapted to environments where conflict is common, possibly even hostile ones." Varn let out an exasperated click. "You're reaching, Trelk. Just because he can lift heavy objects and break up fights doesn't mean he's some kind of superhuman." "We'll see," Trelk said, adjusting the controls on their observation panel. "Let's proceed with the test. If he's truly exceptional, we'll know soon enough." With that, they activated their holographic simulation. At first, the changes were subtle. A treadmill suddenly sputtered and stopped working. A wait machine emitted a low groan before collapsing under its own strain. Lights flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows across the walls. The humans around the gym started to notice, exchanging puzzled looks and muttering to themselves. "What's going on?" one woman asked nervously. "Probably a power surge," someone else suggested, though their tone betrayed doubt. Jake, however, reacted differently. He froze mid-stretch, his body going rigid as his instincts kicked in. His eyes darted around, the room taking in every detail. The flickering lights, the malfunctioning equipment, it wasn't random. Someone or something was behind it. Lisa approached him again, her expression tense. "Jake, do you feel that?" He glanced at her briefly before nodding. "Yeah, stay close." His words sent a chill down her spine, but she trusted him. Whatever was happening, she knew she didn't want to face it alone. As the anomalies intensified, the Krill ramped up their simulation. Sections of the gym began to warp and shift, transforming into a labyrinthine obstacle course filled with shadowy constructs that resembled creatures from Zektar 7. Tentacle-like appendages slithered along the floor, while jagged spires erupted from the walls. Panic spread among the humans, many of whom screamed and ran for the exits. But Jake stood his ground. He assessed the situation quickly, his mind racing through possible scenarios. Years of surviving on Arendor 5 had taught him how to adapt to chaos, and he relied on those lessons now. Without wasting a second, he grabbed a metal bar from a nearby rack and tested its weight. Improvised weapon secured, he turned to Lisa. "Stick with me," he said. "We're getting out of here." She nodded, clutching a dumbbell she'd picked up instinctively. Together they moved cautiously through the transformed gym, dodging attacks from the biomechanical constructs that now roamed freely. Each step was calculated, each movement deliberate. Despite the danger, Jake remained calm, his focus unshakable. Trelk watched in awe as Jake navigated the simulation with ease. Incredible. Look at him go. Varn clicked angrily. This is too far, Trelk. You've endangered our mission. No, Trelk countered. This proves my theory. He's extraordinary. Back in the gym, Jake and Lisa encountered another group of panicked humans huddled together near what used to be the yoga studio. They were trapped, unable to find a way out. Jake wasted no time, clearing a path for them with swift, powerful strikes against the constructs. Once they were safe, he urged them to keep moving. Find an exit, he instructed. Don't stop for anything. As the humans fled, Lisa looked at Jake with newfound admiration. Who are you, really? Jake didn't answer. Instead, he focused on the task at hand, knowing the real challenge was still ahead. Somewhere in the heart of the simulation, the source of the disturbance waited, and Jake intended to confront it head-on. The deeper Jake and Lisa ventured into the transformed gym, the more surreal their surroundings became. What had once been a place of routine exercise was now a twisted maze of alien design. Walls pulsed faintly, as if alive, and strange symbols glowed on the surfaces in colors that seemed to shift and change. The air grew heavier, charged with an energy that made every hair on their bodies stand on end. Jake led the way, his movements deliberate and controlled. He held the metal bar tightly in one hand, swinging it like a weapon whenever the biomechanical constructs lunged at them. Each strike was precise, targeting weak points he identified almost instinctively. Beside him, Lisa fought with equal determination, wielding her dumbbell with surprising skill. Though she wasn't as strong or fast as Jake, her military training gave her an edge in combat. Where are we going? Lisa asked between breaths, dodging a claw-like appendage that snapped toward her face. To the source, Jake replied without hesitation. Whatever's causing this is somewhere close. His words were clipped, but they carried certainty. Lisa didn't question him further. She trusted his judgment, especially after seeing how efficiently he handled the chaos around them. Together, they pressed forward, navigating through corridors lined with writhing tentacles and jagged spires that blocked their path. High above, Trelk and Varn continued to observe from their hidden chamber. Their holographic simulation had exceeded even Trelk's expectations, forcing Jake to adapt to increasingly dangerous challenges. Yet instead of faltering, Jake thrived under pressure, dismantling obstacles with methodical precision. He's incredible, Trelk said, his voice filled with awe. Look at how he analyzes each situation before acting. It's like he's done this 1,000 times. Varn clicked irritably. He's destroying our constructs faster than we can deploy them. This isn't a test anymore, it's a failure. No, Trelk countered. It's proof of his potential. Imagine what humans could achieve if they faced environments like Arendor 5 regularly. They're stronger than we thought. Varn shook his head, his mandibles twitching in frustration. You're too focused on admiration. Don't forget why we're here. To gather data, not to marvel at anomalies. Before Trelk could respond, the simulation reached its climax. A massive construct emerged from the shadows, towering over Jake and Lisa. Its body resembled a fusion of insectoid and mechanical parts, with glowing eyes and razor-sharp limbs that clicked ominously as it moved. The creature let out a low, guttural sound vibrating through the air like a warning. Lisa froze for a moment, staring up at the monstrous figure. What is that? A problem, Jake replied simply. He tightened his grip on the metal bar, his expression hardening. Stay behind me. The construct lunged forward, its claws slicing through the air where Jake had been standing just moments earlier. He rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the attack, and swung his makeshift weapon at one of its legs. The impact dented the metal plating, but the creature barely flinched. It retaliated by swiping at him again, forcing him to leap back. Seeing an opening, Lisa stepped in, slamming her dumbbell against the construct's joint. The blow caused it to stagger slightly, giving Jake time to regroup. He scanned the creature quickly, searching for vulnerabilities. Spotting a cluster of glowing nodes near its chest, he formulated a plan. Distracted, he told Lisa, his voice firm. She nodded, hurling her dumbbell at the creature's head. The noise drew its attention, allowing Jake to circle around behind it. With a powerful jump, he landed on its back and drove the metal bar into one of the glowing nodes. Sparks erupted, and the construct let out a deafening screech, thrashing violently in an attempt to shake him off. Holding on tightly, Jake struck another node, then another, until the construct began to destabilize. Its movements slowed, its glowing eyes dimming as internal systems failed. Finally, with a final burst of strength, Jake drove the metal bar into the central core, causing the entire structure to collapse in a shower of sparks and debris. As the dust settled, the simulation flickered and dissolved, revealing the gym as it truly was once more. The walls returned to their normal state, the equipment reappeared in its usual places, and the eerie atmosphere dissipated. For a moment, there was silence. Then, stepping out from behind shimmering energy fields, two figures emerged. The Krill. Trelk and Varn materialized fully, their insectoid forms unmistakable. Their presence sent shockwaves of fear through the remaining humans, who screamed and backed away. Jake, however, remained calm. He stood tall, his eyes narrowing as he studied the aliens. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice steady despite the surreal situation. Trelk stepped forward cautiously, raising his hands in a gesture meant to appear non-threatening. "We mean no harm," he said, his voice clicking softly, but translated somehow into English. "We are observers, here to study your kind." "Observers?" Jake repeated, skepticism evident in his tone. "Is that what you call turning a gym into a death trap?" Varn interjected, his tone harsher. "Your actions proved you are dangerous. We needed to know what you're capable of." Lisa, still holding her dumbbell defensively, took a step closer to Jake. "Dangerous? You're the ones attacking innocent people." "We did not intend to harm anyone," Trelk explained quickly. "Our simulations are designed to be contained. No human should have been able to disrupt them like he did." He gestured toward Jake, his glowing eyes reflecting admiration mixed with curiosity. Jake crossed his arms, unimpressed. "You've got some explaining to do." Trelk hesitated, glancing at Varn, who clicked impatiently. Finally, Trelk spoke again. "Very well. We are Krill, from Zektar 7. For years we have observed humanity, believing you to be fragile and unremarkable. But you—" He turned his gaze back to Jake. "You are different. Your strength, your instincts, they suggest adaptation to extreme conditions. Tell us, where do you come from?" Jake's jaw tightened. He knew revealing too much about Arendor 5 could put Earth at risk, so he chose his words carefully. "A place where survival means being ready for anything. That's all you need to know." Trelk tilted his head, intrigued. "Fascinating. You represent a subset of humanity we underestimated. Perhaps there is more to your species than we realized." Varn, however, remained hostile. "Or perhaps you are an anomaly, a threat we cannot afford to ignore." Before tensions could escalate further, Lisa stepped forward, speaking firmly. "If you're so interested in humans, maybe you should focus less on testing us and more on understanding us. Strength isn't just about fighting. It's about working together, protecting each other, and finding solutions." Her words resonated with Trelk, who clicked thoughtfully. "She speaks wisely. Maybe there is value in coexistence." Varn clicked angrily. "Enough. This discussion ends here. We will report back to our superiors and decide how to proceed." With that, the two Krill activated their energy fields, once more vanishing from sight. The gym fell silent again, leaving Jake and Lisa alone amidst the lingering confusion. "Well," Lisa said finally, breaking the quiet. "That was something." Jake nodded, his expression unreadable. "Yeah, and it's not over yet." Though the immediate danger had passed, both of them knew the encounter marked only the beginning of something far greater. Humanity had caught the attention of extraterrestrial beings, and not everyone viewed it as a good thing. The days following the Krill's appearance passed in a blur of questions and uncertainty. The gym reopened as if nothing had happened, but whispers of the strange event lingered among its patrons. Some claimed it was a prank gone wrong. Others dismissed it as mass hysteria. Yet for Jake Carter and Lisa Monroe, there was no denying what they had experienced. They knew the truth, and they also knew the danger wasn't over. Jake stayed in town longer than he'd originally planned. His instincts told him the Krill would return, and when they did, humanity needed to be ready. He spent his days training, honing his skills not just for himself, but for the possibility of teaching others how to defend against threats far greater than anything Earth had faced before. Lisa joined him, her own military background making her a natural ally. Together, they began piecing together what little they understood about the aliens and their motives. One evening, after hours of sparring in an empty warehouse, Lisa broke the silence. "Do you think they'll come back?" she asked, wiping sweat from her brow. "They will," Jake replied without hesitation. "They didn't get all their answers, and something tells me that Varn guy isn't going to let this go." Lisa frowned, leaning against a stack of crates. "What do you think they want with us? Why study humans at all?" Jake shrugged, sitting down on the floor to stretch his legs. "Maybe they're curious, or maybe they see us as a threat. Either way, they underestimated us once. If they try again, we need to be prepared." Prepared meant more than physical readiness. It meant gathering allies, resources, and knowledge. Over the next few weeks, Jake and Lisa reached out to people they trusted, former soldiers, scientists, and even a retired engineer who specialized in advanced technology. Slowly, they built a small network of individuals willing to help, though most were skeptical at first. "It sounds crazy," one scientist named Dr. Emily Ross admitted during their initial meeting. "Aliens, really? You expect me to believe that?" Jake didn't argue. Instead, he handed her a flash drive containing footage from the gym's security cameras. The video showed the simulation activating, the constructs attacking, and finally, the Krill revealing themselves. Emily watched in stunned silence, her skepticism replaced by wide-eyed disbelief. "This changes everything," she murmured, rewinding the footage to watch it again. "If these creatures are observing us, we need to understand why and how much they already know." With Emily's expertise, the group began analyzing the data. She identified patterns in the Krill's holographic technology and theorized ways to counteract similar simulations in the future. Meanwhile, Lisa worked on developing basic self-defense strategies that could be taught to civilians. Her goal was simple: ensure everyone had a fighting chance, even against opponents they couldn't fully comprehend. As the team grew stronger, so did Jake and Lisa's bond. Though neither spoke openly about it, there was a mutual respect between them that went beyond shared goals. Lisa admired Jake's calm determination and unwavering focus, while Jake appreciated Lisa's resourcefulness and leadership under pressure. Together they became a formidable pair, united by a common purpose. Back on Sector 7, tensions simmered within the Krill hierarchy. Trelk and Varn presented their findings to the Council, a governing body responsible for overseeing interstellar exploration. The chamber buzzed with debate as holographic projections displayed images of Jake dismantling the construct and standing defiantly before them. "These humans are not as weak as we assumed," Trelk argued, his voice steady despite the weight of scrutiny. This individual, Jake Carter, demonstrated abilities indicative of adaptation to extreme environments. He represents potential, not just a threat. Varn clicked sharply, stepping forward to challenge him. "Potential? No. He is dangerous. His actions disrupted our simulation and exposed our presence. If left unchecked, he could jeopardize our entire mission." The council deliberated, their multifaceted eyes glowing brighter as they processed the information. Finally, one elder spoke, addressing both sides. "We cannot ignore the implications of this discovery. Humanity may indeed possess untapped potential, but such traits also carry risk. Further observation is required." Trelk nodded eagerly. Then let us continue studying them. Perhaps peaceful engagement is possible. Varn bristled, clicking, angrily. Peaceful engagement? They are unpredictable, dangerous. We should neutralize the threat before it grows. The council paused, weighing the options. In the end, they issued a compromise. Trelk would lead efforts to observe humanity further, seeking opportunities for coexistence. Varn, however, was granted permission to develop contingency plans should diplomacy fail. Both parties left the eye. Chamber dissatisfied but determined to act on their respective mandates. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Jake and Lisa received word of strange occurrences elsewhere. Reports surfaced of unexplained phenomena in remote areas. Lights in the sky, electronic malfunctions, and brief sightings of insectoid creatures. Each report fueled speculation online, with theories ranging from government experiments to alien invasions. Most dismissed the stories as nonsense, but Jake and Lisa recognized them for what they likely were: signs of the Krill's continued surveillance. "We can't wait for them to make the next move," Lisa said during one of their planning sessions. "We need to take the initiative," Jake agreed. "If we can track their activity, we might find a pattern, a weakness." Their search led them to a secluded valley where multiple sightings had been reported. Armed with basic equipment scavenged from local tech shops, they set up camp and waited. Hours turned into days, and just as frustration began to creep in, they spotted it. A faint shimmer in the distance, like heat waves distorting the air. As they approached cautiously, the shimmer resolved into a Krill observation drone, hovering silently above the ground. Jake signaled for Lisa to stay back as he moved closer. The drone detected his presence almost immediately, turning its glowing eyes toward him. For a moment, neither moved. Then, without warning, the drone emitted a high-pitched whine and launched a series of energy blasts. Jake dove aside, narrowly avoiding the attack, and retaliated by hurling a rock at the device. The impact caused it to falter, giving him time to close the distance. Using a makeshift EMP device rigged by Lisa, Jake activated the gadget, sending a pulse of electromagnetic energy through the drone. With a final sputter, the machine collapsed, its systems fried. Before it shut down completely, however, it transmitted a burst of data, a signal intercepted moments later by the Krill Command Center. On Zektar 7, alarms blared as the transmission came through. Trelk leaned forward, his expression grim. "They've destroyed one of our drones." Varn clicked triumphantly. "I warned you, this proves my point, they are hostile." "No," Trelk countered. "It proves they are resourceful, adaptable, exactly what I've been saying." The debate raged on, but both sides understood one thing clearly. Humanity had crossed a line. Whether through cooperation or conflict, the Krill's relationship with Earth was about to change forever. Back in the valley, Jake stood over the disabled drone, his face unreadable. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "Not by a long shot." The valley was quiet again, but the silence felt heavy, like the calm before a storm. Jake and Lisa packed up their gear, moving quickly but carefully. They knew destroying the drone wouldn't stop the Krill. It would only escalate things. The aliens now had proof that humanity wasn't as passive or oblivious as they'd assumed. Whatever happened next, it would be bigger, faster, and more dangerous. As they drove back to the city, Lisa glanced at Jake, her hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. "Do you think we made things worse?" she asked, her voice low. Jake stared out the window, watching the dark landscape blur past. "Maybe," he admitted. "But they were already planning something. At least now we've shown them we're not easy targets." Lisa nodded, though doubt lingered in her eyes. "Still, we can't keep doing this alone. We need more people, better resources. If the Krill decide to attack outright, we won't stand a chance." "We'll figure it out," Jake said firmly. His tone didn't leave room for argument, but Lisa could hear the edge of uncertainty beneath his words. Even someone as strong and capable as Jake couldn't face an entire alien species by himself. When they returned to the warehouse where their small team had been meeting, They found everyone gathered around a table cluttered with maps, blueprints, and laptops. Dr. Emily Ross looked up as they entered, her expression tense. "You're back. Did you find anything?" Jake set the remains of the drone on the table, its scorched metal casing sparking faintly. "We found one of their observation units. It's not much, but it might give us some clues about their tech." Emily leaned forward, examining the device closely. "If we can reverse engineer even part of this, it could help us predict their next move or defend against it." Over the next few days, the team worked tirelessly. Emily led the effort to dissect the drone, while others focused on gathering intelligence about recent sightings and anomalies. Lisa coordinated training sessions, teaching volunteers basic self-defense techniques and strategies for dealing with unknown threats. Jake, meanwhile, spent hours studying the drone's design, piecing together how it operated. Despite their progress, the weight of the situation pressed down on all of them. None of them had signed up for this kind of fight. They were ordinary, people thrust into extraordinary circumstances. Yet there was no turning back now. The Krill had chosen Earth as their subject, and Jake and his team were determined to ensure humanity wouldn't be treated as powerless subjects. Far away, on Zektar 7, the Krill Council convened once more. The destruction of the drone had sparked outrage among Varn's faction, who demanded immediate action against humanity. Trelk, however, argued for restraint. "This is evidence of their ingenuity," he insisted. "Instead of viewing them as enemies, we should consider the possibility of alliance." Varn clicked angrily, slamming his forelimbs against the council chamber's surface. "Alliance? With creatures who destroy our technology and defy our surveillance? You are naive, Trelk." Trelk stood his ground, his glowing eyes unwavering. "And you are blinded by fear. Humanity has potential. Potential that could benefit both our species if approached correctly." The debate continued until the council reached a decision. Trelk would lead a diplomatic mission to Earth, attempting to establish communication with humanity. If diplomacy failed, Varn's forces would intervene, using whatever means necessary to neutralize the perceived threat. Back on Earth, Jake received word of increased activity in the skies above major cities. Reports poured in from across the globe. Strange lights hovering over urban areas, electronic devices malfunctioning en masse, and unexplained power outages. It was clear the Krill were stepping up their efforts, testing humanity's limits. One night, as Jake and Lisa patrolled the outskirts of the city, they spotted a massive ship descending silently through the clouds. Its sleek, insectoid design glinted faintly in the moonlight, casting long shadows over the ground below. The sight sent chills down their spines, but neither hesitated. They moved closer, ready to confront whatever came next. The ship landed in an open field, its engines humming softly as a ramp extended downward. Figures emerged, not just drones this time, but Krill themselves, stepping into the cool night air. At the front of the group stood Trelk, flanked by several armed guards. Behind him loomed Varn, his posture rigid with hostility. Jake stepped forward, raising his hand slightly to show he wasn't armed. "What do you want?" he called out, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. Trelk raised a limb in a gesture of peace. "We seek understanding," he replied, his translated voice carrying clearly. "Your actions have intrigued us, Jake Carter. We wish to learn more about your kind, and perhaps work together." Before Jake could respond, Varn stepped forward, clicking sharply. "Enough talk. These humans cannot be trusted. Their aggression proves they are unfit for cooperation." Lisa stepped beside Jake, her expression hard. "Aggression? You've been spying on us, attacking us, and now you expect us to trust you." Trelk turned to Varn, his tone firm. "Violence will solve nothing. Let us speak plainly." For a moment, the two factions faced each other in silence, the air thick with unresolved tension. Then slowly, Jake lowered his hands. "If you really want to understand us," he said, "start by treating us as equals, not experiments." Trelk inclined his head, a sign of respect. "That is what I propose. But know this, if diplomacy fails, my comrades may not share my patience." Jake met his gaze evenly. "Then let's hope diplomacy works. As the krill withdrew, leaving the humans to process what had just happened, Jake turned to Lisa. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "But at least we've bought ourselves some time." Lisa nodded, her resolve strengthening. "Time to prepare. Time to fight back if we have to." In the weeks that followed, humanity began to adapt. News of the encounter spread cautiously, reaching governments and organizations worldwide. Efforts to unite against the krill gained momentum, fueled by Jake and Lisa's leadership. People trained harder, worked smarter, and prepared for the unknown challenges ahead. High above, the krill observed these changes with mixed reactions. Some, like Trelk, saw hope in humanity's resilience. Others, like Varn, viewed it as confirmation of their fears. The divide within their ranks deepened, setting the stage for future conflicts. As for Jake, he stood atop a hill overlooking the city one evening, gazing at the stars. He knew the road ahead would be difficult, filled with danger and uncertainty. But he also knew humanity had something the krill hadn't anticipated: the ability to rise above adversity, to come together when it mattered most. Whatever happened next, Jake was ready.